is no typical day because it depends on what I'm working on. If it's traveling with the UN or traveling for Nadya work or traveling for elephants or conservation work or at home with the family. So if I'm at home with the family, then usually I'll get up in the morning, I will do some writing, then I will do my meditation practice, try to do some exercise as well, whether that's some yin yoga or some Pilates. And then usually I start with a turmeric almond milk latte with MCT oil inside. So that means I'm fasting in the morning, and I just take that and my vitamins, and then I'm done. So I just released my book, Walk With Me, and I worked with a wonderful team to produce the book over a series of years. The idea for the book came about when I realized that I'd been in the industry for about 30 years, and I thought I need to do something to celebrate that and to have something to show for that as well. 15% of the proceeds of the book also go to the Sumatran elephants, so I felt funny doing something that was so focused just on me, because I felt like that I'm not that kind of person normally. So I was like, okay, you know what, I have to do this to share about the causes that I think are important. So inside the book we have featured the Sumatran orangutan and also the elephant, and the proceeds will be going to the Sumatran elephant. Yes, and you know, I think with the onset of social media and our mobile phones, we are less and less do we take the time to do that, to really take a moment to be introspective and to look inwards and to put things to paper and make that commitment on paper. And we're losing touch with not only the art of writing, but also with ourselves. And I often feel when I look back in retrospect, I look at some of the things that were written many years ago about certain things that I wanted to do in my life. And I've done all of those things. And it wasn't a plan. It's like I wrote those things down and then I left it and then I forgot about it. And I think it was like maybe 10 years later that I looked back and I was like, I found that piece of paper and I was like, I didn't know I really wrote those things down, or that those things were in my mind. And sure enough, all of the things that were written down, I hit all of those goalposts. So it's a beautiful way just to sort of put the intention out there. You know, this year is the first time in all these years that I've been talking about the environment that I have been feeling like a little bit of loss of hope. And it's really quite scary, actually, what we're moving towards. And the feigned ignorance of the global community is also, itu sampai merinding. I get goosebumps, you know, because it's just, we absolutely can't go on like this. We just cannot. I have no time for someone who doesn't believe in climate crisis, and there's no point in me wasting my time trying to convince somebody of that. It really, I have other things to focus on. The easiest thing actually is to reduce the amount of meat that you eat. Meat has one of the highest carbon footprints, and it's the easiest way for an individual to change the way that their impact on the environment and to reduce their carbon footprint. What else? Take more public transport. Now in Indonesia you can, at least in Jakarta, you can take more public transport. We don't have a car. Our family doesn't have a car. If it's something nearby, or to the supermarket, or to the park, or to like my daughter to gymnastics or whatever, we ride bicycles. Of course, in Singapore, I can do that. In Indonesia, mungkin lebih susah sedikit. And really, just think about what you need. What do you actually need? In this day and age, you know, people really peg themselves and their identity to that which they can attain in terms of material attainments, but that doesn't really define you. And I don't know, I think I'd rather invest in personal growth than investing in things that really don't do anything for me or the planet. Well, we built that house, I think 12 or 13 years ago. It was one of the first few sustainable houses in Singapore, and we had to work within the building restriction codes in Singapore and what wasn't available back then. So we were really pioneering. A lot of things Most things worked in the house. One part of the house didn't really work, and that was the wood that we used, so that we've had to change. We have a thermal water heating technology on the roof, which helps to heat the water in the house, because one of the biggest things in the house is the heating and cooling, right? So if we have a cool house, everything literally a few degrees cooler, then we don't have to use so much air conditioning, or only at nighttime. And then the heating is done by thermal for the water, and then we use gas. So we have a gas dryer, we use gas also in the kitchen. That it's expensive, or that your lifestyle is compromised. I certainly don't feel that my lifestyle is compromised at all. In fact, I'm very happy with my life, and I don't feel like I'm missing anything. In fact, I feel like I live a more meaningful life. And people say it's expensive to eat organic food, but good meat is really expensive. So if you reduce your meat and then you transfer that into good organic veggies, then you're not be spending any more. The biggest lesson in my life, I don't know what it is, but one of the things that I always say is that the one thing that I know is that I know nothing. And that's because, to me, it's the minute you feel like, or that you think that you know everything, is the minute that you stop learning. And to me, I'm just hungry for knowledge, and I just want to be able to know everything about everything, right? So I guess the greatest lesson is that there's so much more to learn. The more you know, the more you realize you don't know anything.